All praises to the Most High. All praises to the Most High. What it do, family? It's my prayer pillow, y'all. Why is it there? It is there, family, because I get on my crusty knees 3 times a day and say the Most High's prayer. You know that prayer? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yes, 3 times a day. Because I read this is what our ancestors did. Okay? I'll do it first at every start of each day at sunset. Then I'll do it again in the morning when I get up. Then I'll do it again in the early afternoon. Okay? And sometimes as I ponder in my thoughts, as I think different things, sometimes I'll get on my knees 4 times a day and pray to our Father, But I make sure I say his prayer on my knees 3 times a day. Okay? What they call in Christian churches, the Lord's Prayer, the prayer of the Most High. Okay? That prayer. So, and then, I'm not in competition. We're not in competition with any people of any other religion. Okay, you got the Muslims say they pray on their knees 5 times a day. But I'm here to tell you, it doesn't matter how many times you pray to a false god on your knees, you won't bust through those pearly gates of heaven when your life is over with. Okay, so family, what I really want to talk about is, the judgments of Yah are steady raining down in different parts of the earth. And recently, it just hit the area where I was born, Northwest Indiana, Chicagoland area. I called my younger brother, Nate, last Thursday to touch bases with him about something. And he told me that him and his significant other, they were hunkered down in the cab of his truck because all the power is out down there everywhere. I said, wow, I saw on the news Tuesday. I used to keep up with the weather down there too because I still have so many family members down there in Indiana. And so I saw that some major thunderstorms was going from the west and going across that whole region. But I didn't know the wind was clocking at 99 miles per hour like it did in Lake County, Indiana. They clocked the strongest winds from the Gary Chicago International Airport down there. But all the other areas at least clock winds over 90 miles per hour. And so he was telling me, besides the power being out everywhere, the big trees pushed down across the roads and stuff like that. And Northern Indiana Public Service Company, which is NIPSCO for Northwest Indiana, they provide the electricity and the gas for that area. It's like a monopoly, and the utility bills are down there just so high. I think the only areas in the country that are higher than NIPSCO, I know I looked it up a long time ago, probably when I was a resident down there, was New York was higher and Los Angeles. But I don't know where NIPSCO stands now, but I know their utility rates are way up through the roof. And anyhow, as I did some research when I hung up from talking to my brother, and I didn't know it was so bad. I'm like, wow, the whole Lake County, that's where Gary is at, the whole Lake County, every resident was out. Nobody had power. So that includes my sister still down there, my cousins, everybody's power was out. And these big trees are crossing the roads. And so Northern Indiana Public Service Company, NIPSCO, they can't go down certain streets because that block with big trees pushed down across the roads and stuff like that. And, these strong winds did a lot of damage to the roofs of people's homes. And I can just imagine it's a mess. I've been watching a lot of different small clips, and I do have a couple of clips to show, family, about what the damage has done down there. But these are the judgments of Yah, family. Who knows where they're going to strike next, these mighty angels of Yah. They've hit in the southern parts of the country. Out in Florida, I saw sinkholes. A lot of their major skyscrapers, that they built a long time ago, they're actually sinking. They got a lot of sinkholes in Florida, fires. The Northeast just got hit real bad in the New York and New Jersey area. with floods and stuff like that. And then out south toward Arizona and stuff like that, it just won't cool down. They done had over 30 days of 110-degree weather or better. So these are all the judgments of Yah, family. You got fires in the northwestern parts of the United States going on, all in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and all over the place. These are the judgments of Yah, family. And also in places of Europe. In Europe, you got...
this had burned down.
It says, flames reach Croatia's rooftops. Europe burns Greece, France, Germany, evacuate thousands. I'm going to show y'all some of this. Look at this here.
That strong daily winds had helped the fire to spread.
The fire is spreading, the wind is working against us. Many houses have burned down and the blaze is at the doorstep of many more buildings.
Evacuations were carried out by land and sea, with harbour authority boats transporting people from areas threatened by the fire. Part of Omis also lost electricity, while traffic on the Atlantic coastal road was disrupted. More than 150 firefighters were deployed to Lokva Rogoznica, Croatia, Greece, France, Germany, all burning at once. Thousands displaced, homes reduced to ash. Europe isn't just having a heat wave anymore, it's on fire.
You hear what she said? Europe is not just having a heat wave anymore, it's on fire. All those countries she just named where people are evacuating, that's going on right now, family. But back to the Indiana deal. Now, like I said, I was doing some real research to see what areas of the state got hit the hardest. And Indianapolis, they are experiencing those floods like, they haven't seen in over 100 years. And golly, it's just so bad, But family, these are the judgments of Yah, you know what I'm saying? And but the second largest city in the state of Indiana, Fort Wayne, I researched how much water did they get. They only got 1 inch of rain. But like Indianapolis, it's like they're over flood stage. I'm like, it's just off the chain how much rain they got. But Fort Wayne, in case anybody who are not aware of it, it's in northern Indiana, but northeastern part of the state, where it's only about like 18 miles from the Ohio border. They only got 1 inch of rain. Got a lot of wind, but I didn't see anywhere where they got any kind of the damage that Lake County, Indiana did, or LaPorte County, or Porter County, Indiana, and those counties in Illinois around Chicago, like Cook County and Will County and stuff like that. My family, these are just part of the judgments of Yah. That's what they are. I'm gonna see if I can show y'all something else. Man, it's crazy. Oh my God. Ain't no telling what area is gonna hit next, but everywhere, where these judgments are landing in the earth. I mean, then I just heard earlier today, they had another earthquake in Indonesia. They had an earthquake in Spain. So these are all the judgments of Yah. It's like everybody is getting something, somewhere. But at least 47 dead after earthquake strikes Indonesia. Look at this. Ohio even got it. Look at this. This bus almost complete. Look at that. Ohio flood disaster, historic rainfall, at least 2 dead. Look at that. Ohio got it too.
Inches of rain in one night, and today southeastern Ohio is still underwater. A powerful derecho ripped across the Midwest on August 11th, leaving a trail of destruction from Iowa all the way to the Ohio Valley. At least 2 people are confirmed dead. Over 800,000 utility customers lost power, and entire villages were cut off by floodwaters. We're talking about a historic flooding event. Dayton just broke a rainfall record that had stood since 1915. Here's everything you need to know about what happened and what's coming next. First, let's talk about what caused all of this, because this was not your typical summer thunderstorm. The Storm Prediction Center has preliminarily confirmed that the system that moved from eastern Iowa into northern Indiana was a derecho. Now, for those of you who haven't heard that term before, a derecho is a long-lived, widespread windstorm associated with a band of rapidly moving thunderstorms.
Derecho.
Think of it as a land hurricane sustained damaging winds over a huge geographic area, moving in a straight line instead of rotating. This particular derecho began around 7 a.m. Central Time in Iowa on August 11th, and it tracked all the way through Indiana by early afternoon. The strongest gust measured with this system was 99 miles per hour, recorded at Gary, Indiana. Meanwhile, a separate but related round of severe thunderstorms was targeting Columbus and southeastern Ohio at the same time. And it was those storms over southeastern Ohio that produced the catastrophic rainfall totals we're going to break down right now. Let's take a look at the hardest hit areas, and we are starting in Perry County and Muskingum County in southeastern Ohio. Between midnight and the morning of August 11th, radar and rain gauges confirmed that 5 to 8 inches of rain fell in central Perry County and northwestern Morgan County. To put that in perspective, 5 to 8 inches in a single event is something you'd expect from a landfalling tropical storm, not a summer derecho. The town of New Lexington, the county seat of Perry County, was overwhelmed. Streets turned into rivers, vehicles were submerged, and structures flooded rapidly. Crooksville and Roseville, two small communities along the Muskingum River corridor, were among the most severely impacted areas in the entire state. Roseville, a village of roughly 1,500 residents, was nearly completely isolated by floodwaters. Officials reported that at one point, only a single road in or out remained passable. And that isolation had deadly consequences. One person died in Roseville after a medical emergency because floodwaters prevented first responders from reaching the individual in time. Confirmed that death during a press conference.
See all that stuff, family? Judgments of Yah. That's what it is. The judgments of Yah. 2026, Yah, and them holy angels, they ain't playing. They ain't not playing. Look at that. Oregon, Washington fires. Big grand. Look at that. Hawaii, USA, in storm chaos. Tropical storm Lala. That's another thing. Tropical storm Lala hitting the Hawaii area. Look at there. Hawaii, USA, in storm chaos. Tropical storm Lala triggers. Look at that. Look at this. Oregon and Washington. Wildfires surge. Big grass. Little. See what's up with that fire.
All-time wildfire record, and the fire season is far from over. Right now, 43 uncontained large fires are burning across Oregon and Washington, the nation's most active fire zone. Nearly 18,000 firefighters are on the front lines across the Pacific Northwest alone, and we've got a lot to cover. I'm going to break down every major fire, the evacuations, the road closures, and what's coming next. All right, let's start with the biggest story in Oregon, and honestly, the biggest wildfire story in the state's recorded history. The Big Grass Fire, burning in Malheur County, 25 miles southwest of Jordan Valley, Oregon, is now the largest wildfire in modern Oregon history.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
See all that, family? That's because Yah, his anger and his wrath and his indignation is against all nations on earth. All nations. Even this one. And if you don't have a relationship with him, by doing like he told us to do as far as Yisrael is concerned, keeping his commandments, honoring his Sabbath, okay, you just a person just go to church, but you still, you sleep with people you ain't married to all the time, you don't know the Father. You don't have a relationship with him if you're living like that, But he said in his first commandment, have no other gods before me. We're to love our Father, Yah, with all our heart, our soul, and our strength. And love our neighbor as ourselves. This is what pleases him. We are obedient to him. But most of the world aren't living to please Father Yah. So everybody is a target. Every country is a target of his wrath. And angels he have over controlling the speeds of the wind. He have angels over the waters. The judgments of Yah, the fires, the floods, the hurricanes, the earthquakes, the volcanic eruptions, landslides, lightning strikes. All of these, family, are parts of the judgments of Yah against the nations for our wickedness down here. And if we want to escape his wrath and his judgment, we must be obedient to what he told us to do. You see at the start of this video, I show you, this is where I get on my crusty knees 3 times a day or even more sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because he's nothing to play with. He has all power. Every angel he created, he gave them power. You know what I'm saying? He has all power in heaven and in earth, family, and he is nothing to play with. He give people space to repent, of our wrongs in this world. But, there comes a time, because things are going to happen on his time frame. Okay, and I thank you, Father, for allowing us to get through. I'm talking about Yisrael. We have suffered the punishment of our curses. And at least the remnant of us, have turned back to him. But even most of our people haven't turned back to him. So like in Lake County, where I'm from, in Indiana, Gary is about at least 74% chocolate. But, hey, his wrath doesn't bar anybody if you aren't living in obedience to what he told us to do. So a lot of our people are just like counted with the nations when his wrath is concerned and his judgments are concerned. You know what I'm saying? But we know better, family. We fear our Father because we know he ain't nothing to play with. You know what I'm saying? And, this is what's going on, though. This is what's going on. But I even called down to Lake County, Indiana, and Crown Point. It was about some business, and they told me they won't be back in office. I called them Thursday before I called my brother. They said they won't be back in office until Monday next week. So that's tomorrow. I'm like, wow, what's going on? Sure ain't no holiday. But I didn't know how bad it was as far as the storms that they got that went through the area. Wow, I saw other videos, family, where it's like people are just lined up for miles trying to get gas. But the gas trucks can't get down certain streets to refill the convenience stores with gas because the roads are blocked with big trees and stuff like that. So they really going through it. I've never in my life seen it that bad in Northwest Indiana or the Chicagoland area, but Northwest Indiana got hit the hardest. And then you want to go up into like Central Indiana. And, I got nephews and nieces and cousins. They all up in there, and they just got these floods. And people, who have worked 40 years or more, businesses just lost in a matter of just a couple of hours of getting these torrentials of rain, and it's just crazy. It's just crazy, but This is Yah, executing his judgments against the nation. Why? Because of what they have been doing to his chosen people the whole time they've been over us. I never thought I would live to see, when they would get it. These nations who oppress us and who, do all kinds of things against us. You still got them lynching our people. Like they have so many lynchings in the southern states even now. And then the law authorities, they do a half-ass investigation and say, okay, well, they were suicide. How, you don't even know the people. How the hell you gonna come up with, that finding that they committed suicide? You don't even know them. Just so, the people who did it can get away with it. That's how it always has been. And somebody said, made a comment on one of my videos saying somebody had did a video about, something pertaining to these lynchings and stuff. My response was that, we're starting to see a lot of this stuff because of social media, these social media outlets, TikTok, YouTube, and stuff like that. And probably Instagram. I don't have none of that stuff no more, but I once upon a time did. But back in the 90s, I was a resident of Mississippi. I left Indiana in November 1993 at the age of 29 years old. I went to Jackson, Mississippi. I was in Clinton, Mississippi for a while. And then me and my family moved to Jackson, Mississippi. And stayed down there all the way till like April, to the spring. And then we migrated back up to Indiana for whatever reasons we did. And I'm always researching different stuff that most people really just don't care about. And I saw something, even back in 1994, it said that Mississippi, in 1993, Mississippi had a record 93 lynchings in their jails that year. 93 lynchings. That was in 93. They had a record of 93 lynchings in Mississippi jails in 1993. So what we're seeing on social media as far as what they're doing to our people, that has never stopped. It's just that everybody can see it now on social media outlets. But the way they treat our people in those states, it has never ceased as far as lynching our people, drowning our people. You know what I'm saying? So, whatever you want to do with that, I'm just saying, because of social media outlets, we're starting to see it more, but it has never ceased. They have never stopped doing us the way they have been doing us all along from slavery. Even when slavery ended with Jim Crow, they were still lynching our people by the thousands. And they're still doing it in 2026. And Yah says in his word, if you bless Israel, Yazarel, so-called Negroes, you shall be blessed. If you curse us, you shall be cursed. So, the judgments of Yah are worldwide because his people have been oppressed worldwide in all these nations from one degree to another. And you got some people, somebody made a comment on one of my recent videos, all the Israelites weren't blackity black or something like that. Not the last video I just posted on the Sabbath, but the one before that. And I just got rid of that, clown, because, how can people not understand, that all the 12 tribes are black people? Jacob was a black man, an Israelite. Just like many of you watching this video, just like me, and all the women that he had his 12 sons and one daughter by were by black women. And we know that people of our, family, Yazarel, we come in different shades and different colors, different tones, from albino to high yellow, to caramel, to brown, to chocolate, to dark, to real dark. You know what I'm saying? But the 12 tribes of Yazarel are all Negroes. You want to say some of them were Native Americans because they lost their identity over here too? And they started calling themselves that. Really? Okay, so we're not lost to our identity now. So we know that we are Yazarel. So whoever calling themselves Indian, but they're Yazarel. They need to wake up to their true identity, okay? You know what I'm saying? As well as those Negro Hispanics. A lot of them don't know that they're Yazarel, and they're trying to run as far away from who they are as far as black, but a remnant of Yazarel will be in Yahushua Mashiach's kingdom, and a remnant of the nations. You know what I'm saying? But call it like it is. Jacob, whose name was turned to Israel, he was a brother. I'm a brother. You know what I'm saying? I have 5 children by 3 different sisters. All my kids are Negroes. We're all Yazarel. Same with Jacob. He had children by black women. Whether it was from Canaan or Israelites, they're all black women. So all the 12 tribes are black folks. Okay? But like I said, we all have different shades. You know what I'm saying? How you going to mix that with somebody else from another nation? No, we were scattered around the world, scripture says, among our enemies. And there was some mixing going on and stuff like that. But make no mistake about it, the 12 tribes are black folks of different tones, of skin colors. But it's not about the skin color. Our Father says in his word that we are to test the spirits, not the shades and the color of a person, because a lot of our people have already joined with the nations and they are against us. But Yah knows exactly who they are. That's not for us to be arguing about, though. He said, test the spirits. Test the spirits. And that's how we know who are Yazarel and who are not because of their skin color. Okay, I just had to add that in there, okay? But anyway, family, what we're seeing that's going on with these major disasters, and, they are the judgments of Yah, because Yah, our Father, is angry at all nations because of how they have treated his people. And they don't honor him. They don't honor him. Even when you see animal documentaries, they say nature, evolution gave that particular animal that over time. They just tell bold-faced lie. They refuse to recognize our Father in his creation. But he knows how to get the attention of nations. And that's what you're seeing now, family, with these, what they call natural disasters are the judgments of Yah. He has his mighty angels working for him, executing all of this. That's what's going on, family. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share, family. So I'll be coming with something else whenever the Spirit drop it inside of me, okay? I'll be willing to share with my family, like always, okay? Until next time, one love and shalom.